Today we're going to be reviewing conic sections. Now a conic section is formed when a plane intersects a cone. We kind of see like a little cone right here, and we have like a plane, kind of like an index card, cutting across. Now, a circle is a conic section formed when we cut parallel to the base of a cone, and we get a circle. And kind of like if you have an ice cream cone and it melts, you look down straight down, you see a circle. The equation for a circle, matter of fact for all conics, look like this: ax squared plus by squared plus cx plus dy plus e equal to 0. Now, for a circle, a equals b, and that's the important thing to remember. A and b are the same. In standard form, we get x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And we're going to talk about this later on today. An ellipse, so imagine taking an ice cream cone full of melted ice cream, and you tilt it to the side a little bit. Well, if you tilt it to a side a little bit, kind of imagine that, the water goes to a slant. That slant, the surface area of that slanted melted ice cream, makes an ellipse. Now an ellipse, its equation is exactly the same thing. ax squared plus by squared plus cx plus dy plus e equal to 0. The difference is when we write is where a and b. In this case, a does not equal b. In standard form, we get x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equal to 1. And again, we're going to talk more about this equation later on, what a and b are. Ellipses are very easy to graph. Now, before we go on to a parabola, I guess we go to a parabola next. Now, if we keep tilting that ice cream cone over, and we keep tilting, eventually what's going to happen? The ice cream will spill out, right? That melted ice cream will spill out. Well, the shape that the surface area makes as it's starting to spill out is what we call a parabola. So when we cut across the surface of the cone at an angle and across the base, but not perpendicular, that's called a hyperbola. So we get this shape. The equation ax squared plus by squared plus cx plus dy plus e equals 0. In the case right here, in a parabola though, either a or b equals 0. One of them is going to be 0 in this case, because in a parabola only one can be squared. In standard form, there are two standard forms of a parabola, depending on how we're going to write this. So we get y equals 1 over, and you may recall this from pre-cal, 1 over 4a times x minus h squared plus k. Or we get x equals 1 over 4a y minus h, squared, y plus minus k, I had it right, y minus k squared plus h. Sorry about that. So in standard form, this is if it's up and down. This is right or left. Now, a hyperbola is kind of like the same thing. But now for hyperbola, we take that cone, we take that ice cream, and we tilt it completely upside down. And what we get we get a hyperbola. Now, we see hyperbolas every day in our life. Imagine when you drive your car. The beam of light from your car, here's the beam of light coming from your headlight. When it strikes the road, the shape that light makes along the road is a hyperbola. Now, a hyperbola, the equation should look the same: ax squared plus by squared plus cx plus dy plus e equals 0. But when we get the equation, again, we have two forms in standard form. Again, if it's up and down or sideways. In standard, we get x minus h squared over a squared, but this time because it's like an ellipse, but it goes minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. If it's right to left, and if it's up and down, we go y minus k squared over b squared minus x minus h squared over b squared equal to 1. And this is, there we go, x minus h squared over a squared. And this is going up and down. And those are our standard forms. And we're going to talk a lot more about these later on today, okay? But right now, let's spend a few minutes on identifying some shapes here. So if we take a look at number 1 here on the back here, on the next page here, we want to identify the type. This is written in the equation form. I'm comparing A and B. That's all I'm going to compare. Just really, most of the time all you got to do is compare A and B. Take a look here. A and B are different. Not only does A not equal B, but B is less than 0. It's negative. Okay? Oh, we forgot to mention that. Sorry about that. In a hyperbola, either A or B is negative. So in the hyperbola, either A or B is negative. Sorry about that. So if we go back to question number 1 here, because B is negative, this is a hyperbola. 2. A and B. They're both A equals B, and it's both positive. This is a circle. Here's A, but notice there's no B. So B has to be 0. Well, which is the one that had B 0? One of them had B 0. One of them had a B 0. B is 0. I think it's funny. So B is 0. So we only have A here. So this is our parabola. Let's take a look here. A, B. I'm looking at only the square terms. They're different numbers, both positive, but they're different. A does not equal B. This is our ellipse. So take a few moments and try 5, 6, and 7. We'll go over those tomorrow in class. All right, now we'll take a look at those in class tomorrow. So let's take a look down here. Identify the shape and complete the square, and then write these following in standard form. So we're going to write these in standard form. So the first thing to do is identify the shape. A equals B. This is a circle. Now, before I complete the square, I notice they're all divisible by 2. So I'm going to divide everything by 2. That just makes it a little bit easier for us. Minus 4x minus 14y plus 29 equals 0. As long as you divide the 0 by 2, you can do whatever you want. Now, to complete the square, we're going to combine our x's. X squared minus 4x. Because I'm going to complete the square, I'm going to put a plus blank right here and put that in parentheses. I do the same thing for the y's. Plus y squared minus 14y plus a blank. Now, the 29, it doesn't have an x or y, so I'm going to bring that over to the other side, minus 29. Now, notice here, I'm adding a blank here, and I'm adding a blank here. When we're adding, we're changing the equation. So we're going to change the equation on both sides to still keep it equal. So this plus a blank, plus a blank, plus a blank, plus a blank. And now we complete the square. Now, how we complete the square? What's half of negative 4? Negative 2. Very good. Negative 2. And we square that. So what I'm really adding is 4. So I'm going to bring that 4 and put it over here as well. What's half of negative 14? Negative 7. Negative 7. Very good. We're going to square that. And what's negative 7 squared? 14. No, it's 49. Be careful. 7 times 7 is 49. And that's what I add to the other side there. Now, on the right side, we're just going to add those together. We get negative 29 plus 4 plus 49. So we get negative 29. I'm going to use my calculator. I'm going to cheat here. Negative 29 plus 4 plus 49. And that gives me 24. On the left side, we already have our complete square. So we get x minus 2 squared. You don't have to factor it. We already did it, x and 2. And we get plus y minus 7 squared. And there is our first equation right there. There's our circle. And heck, if you want to, you can even graph it, right? What's the center of our circle? 2, 7. The radius, the square root of 24. So I go over here at over 2, up 7, and go out root 24, and I can make my circle if you want to. I don't know what root 24 is. It's ugly. So, let's go ahead and try number. So what I would like you guys to do is try number 17 for a couple minutes, and then we're going to do a number 22 in just a moment. Okay, 22. Now 22 is a parabola. When writing the equation of a parabola, same thing, idea is the same. Keep your y's together and your x's together. So when I do my y's, I get y squared minus 2y plus a blank minus 4x, and bring the 9 over here. It doesn't really matter, okay? So we're okay. Half of negative 2 is negative 1. I'm going to square it, so I'm adding 1. So I add 1 to the other side here. Over here, we made a complete square, so we get y minus 1 squared minus 4x equals negative 8. But the difference for a parabola, we have to solve for the non-squared variable, so we got to solve for x. So if I solve for x here, we get negative 4x equals negative 8 minus y minus 1 squared. And then I divide by negative 4. So we get 2 plus 1/4 y minus 1 squared. And there's our parabola. This is a sideways open parabola because it's x equals. And where's our vertex of our parabola, you may ask? It's going to be at 1, 2. Remember, other way around, I always messed it up because it switched. That's h, there's 2, and that's our k, and that's 1. There we go. There's our vertex. So try number 25 as well, and we'll take a look at that in class tomorrow if we have time, okay? And then go to part 2.